Okay, folks. Hello and welcome to today's town hall. Starting off with a little bit of countdown, making sure that we've got quorum before we kick things off today. But I think we are ready to get going. So yes, welcome all to today's session. This is our usual bi-weekly town hall. Thank you so much for joining. As always, we are live streaming and recording today's session. So if you get disconnected at any point or you have to drop off early, you can head to youtube.com/at hospitable. You can catch up on everything there. We've got a whole bunch of product and company updates for you today, so we're going to get through those first. If you do have any questions throughout the session, though, please do use the Q&A functionality at the bottom of your screen, somewhere down there, to ask us your questions. Try to stick to using the Q&A for questions rather than the chat. Just helps us keep a track of all the questions that are getting asked. Without further ado, though, I'm going to move ahead and hand it over to PC to do a little bit of an introduction of a new team member.
Yeah, it's hello everyone. It's kind of virtual. Whenever someone is joining our team, we put them on stage so that they meet 300 of our closest friends. So yeah, I'm calling on stage Leroy Baker, who is joining us from the Netherlands and is going to be joining our core team. Leroy, now is the time to show the camera and to unmute yourself so that we get a chance to see you and hear what you are going to be doing at Hospitable.
Yes. Hey everyone, Leroy here from the Netherlands. I'll be joining Hospitable as a new product engineer. I'll be joining the Mogul team, working on giving the owners more insights as to their properties. Hopefully, start working on the owner platform sometime soon. Fun fact about me, I'm actually a pretty avid salsa dancer, doing that 2 times a week. So I've been having fun doing that for the last 2 years.
Pretty average, and after 2 years of salsa dancing?
Yeah.
Okay, there's probably some fake humility right there. But yeah, thank you, Leroy. Thank you for joining the company. I think you've been onboarding for the past 2 weeks. I think we didn't want to put you on the spot immediately on the last town hall because that would have been quite a shocker. But yeah, good luck on everything. You have your product test already booked?
I did it this afternoon.
You did it this afternoon. I didn't get to check Slack just yet. I believe if you show up, it's a pass, right?
It's a pretty good sign, yeah, I guess.
Super good, right? Good. So thank you so very much, Leroy, joining our core team, especially the Mogul section right now. That's because we did some internal restructuring. And so Devon, that was introduced with you last half of the year, is now working on a special project that will come to life and be announced on the next town hall. And yeah, that means that's 24 engineers currently working at Hospitable. I think that's a pretty sizable team for the industry. Overall, 60 people working internally on the same solar grid at Hospitable. Yeah, without further ado, I'm going to check back with you a little bit later on a bit of an off-track segment that nobody knows exactly how it's going to go. But for now, I'm going to leave it to Andrew for some interesting and very fun connectivity updates.
Yeah, hello everyone. Let's talk connectivity. Let's start by rewinding just a little bit. So when we talked to you in January, we were talking to you about our roadmap and what we hope to achieve this year. We talked about a couple things. If we can go to the next slide, please. We talked about becoming a PMS. And that was a journey that we really started only kind of towards the end of last year. And that journey includes, becoming the source of truth. So in Q4, we became the source of truth on pricing and availability. We changed the way we connect to Airbnb. We talked about kind of upping our craft on the engineering side. As we became the source of truth, we had to be supremely reliable as a source of your data. So we talked about 5 nines, 99.999% uptime with your OTA integrations, meaning like only 5 minutes of outages per year in that goal. And then we talked about basically achieving a recognition of that progress. So working towards Premier and preferred plus statuses on our primary two OTAs that we have. So without further ado, next slide, please. We got there. Yay. So that was just, I mean, this press release actually came out like maybe a couple hours before this town hall started. We went from zero basically last year. We weren't really even on the Airbnb PM scope, which is what we did, this PMS scope integration. We had a different type, we had a unique integration. And we went all the way from a nothing to the very top. And this is the highest tier, the Preferred Plus. There are only 17 other providers with us there. And that's it's a nice recognition of the whole team's effort. Thank you guys that were on that journey with us. Sometimes it wasn't always so smooth, but we made it, and it brings some benefits to us. So we now have better access to Airbnb's team. We have priority technical support from their API team. That means we're going to be getting better access. We have a dedicated account manager now. We have access to their product team. We're using that access to advocate for a better integration, a better product for you as host. So we're all winning in this. That's great. Next announcement. We did the same on booking.com. Yay. We went from, not really having any recognition to being premier, which is their top status as well. So both of these OTAs basically gave us feedback that this is like probably never happened before, that you went from nothing, jumped all the way to the top. So we couldn't be happier. It was fun for us. Obviously, like the recognition is great, but like, doing the work and improving the integration is reward in itself. So we're super excited about that. So what does that entail? Like, how do you get these qualifications? Just to give you a little bit of insight into what this looks like, we'll share a few of the tiers. Like, basically, to get to these tiers, you have to fulfill every single requirement, and you're graded on all kinds of different metrics, including how many units you have, how many properties you have, how many bookings they're getting, all of those things. But just to show you some of the things that aligned with our goals this year. So we're looking at the engineering reliability, again, that 99.999% uptime. We're hitting that. And that wasn't even like the target. If you look at this slide, the target for this booking rejection rate, which is the most critical endpoint for Airbnb, the synchronous availability check. This is how we prevent double bookings. We are way beyond the target for even Preferred Plus. So 1%, we're at 0.1%. And then the missed notifications. This is again, these are the webhooks that make us have data consistency with Airbnb. We're a 0. So basically a perfect score, which is great. So congrats to the engineering team on making that. And we're obviously going to do everything we can to maintain that going forward. Next one we wanted to share. This one we're super proud of as well. And this is a lot of credit to you guys as well. This is more you than us. But the hosting quality. So this is your aggregate review score. This is obviously super important. We're aligned very much with you, with Airbnb, and with us about maintaining a good guest experience. We think you guys are better at this than maybe the PMSs that have much larger customers. Guest experience is kind of hard to scale for a lot of people, so we think we can always be ahead, but we're way above the benchmarks. So we're super proud about how you guys do with the business, and that we're able to join you for that ride. So congrats to everyone. The other part about this is that in this premier status, Preferred Plus status, we're encouraged to basically keep tightening the relationship with the OTA, building out the performance. So Kelsey announced these at the previous town hall. They weren't live yet, so just to highlight these again, we improved some of the communication you're getting from Airbnb to help you be a better host. So listings opportunities, these are recommendations based on what guests are searching for in Airbnb. So they're trying to share that with you, with us. So maybe amenities you're missing out on that are keeping you out of searches, discounts that you could be offering that would get you more visibility in search results, availability rules if you have too high of a min stay. Those are the listings opportunities that we now show in the product for everyone. On the quality status side, this is when you're getting notifications from Airbnb. Maybe you got a 3-star review, or you have too many host cancellations. Those are going to start to impact your performance on Airbnb. So we're sharing those notifications with you so you can act on them. Sometimes you need to follow up with their support team to kind of clear out those issues. We don't want you to have to be on the Airbnb backend to see those. We're replicating those in Hospitable so you can act on those and make sure that your performance doesn't suffer. The last one, the notifications, those are urgent notifications, again, that are in Airbnb that we're going to surface for you in Hospitable to make sure you don't miss them. This is payout information, ground rule violations that could lead to a suspension if you don't address them, listing verification issues, KYC, etc. So those three things now we're trying to bring visibility to in Hospitable, so you see those. The other ones that are new and going out just recently. So we did release support for an 18-month availability window. If you're not aware of this, it's not something that's supported on Airbnb. For some reason, they only do like a 12-month and then jump to 24-month availability window. But if you're using dynamic pricing, this is very relevant for you because most dynamic pricing engines only provide up to 18 months of pricing recommendations. And so you were kind of stuck and you could only choose 12 months on Airbnb, losing out on those 6 months, or 24 months and have 6-month gap without any pricing recommendations. So you kind of have to do a bit of a hack. So we did that. And now we can support an 18-month window on all platforms. On Airbnb, you'll see 24 months if you check it on the Airbnb platform because we can't display 18, but we have 18-month availability window now. The other thing, review category tags. These became mandatory recently when you give below a 4-star review. So if you're going to give, what is a kind of a bad review through our platform, we're now going to help you fill these out. You can also manually select them, but we'll help you find the tags to give the appropriate review feedback through the tags. Those are now required, again, on anything less than a 4-star review. Last thing to mention, our focus on the Booking.com integration is to get to a really nice automated listings creation. That's going to go to beta next week. Thank you everyone who has been participating in the pilot. We've created a whole bunch of listings from usually Airbnb listings, cloning them onto Booking.com, giving you distribution with only a couple clicks, but we're trying to automate that. We've done a lot of improvements, a lot of things that maybe caused issues during the pilot. Those are getting resolved, and we should be able to go to beta as soon as next week. We're going to make all listings go to request to book mode to make sure that you have time to adjust and get comfortable with that platform if it's a new platform for you. And then we'll be managing all that content. And we're not quite there to being 100% source of truth for your listings data, but that is pretty much our primary focus on the connectivity team for Q2. So we'll have lots of updates coming to consolidating listings management and making that feel as automated as possible to give you your time back on that. And with that, I will pass to Nuran, the support team.
Hi, so I'm excited to give you an update about support. I'll get right to it. I'm going to start with a very brief snapshot of some of the not very great feedback that we've heard across from all customers across the last couple of months. You'll notice that there's actually I won't read all of these out or anything, but you'll notice that there's quite a pattern. So 14 hours and no response. Replies can take hours or days. When we first signed up, the support chat was very responsive, but now this is becoming unacceptable. And so a lot of people have not been super happy with our response times over the last few months. Now, what is also really visible to me from the feedback that we've had from people is that a lot of people also assume that the solution is hiring more people. So just hire more people is a phrase that came up quite a bunch of times, I think 3 or 4 times in those examples that I gave you. Now, it's easy. I think this mostly is motivated by people who have experience with companies that are always kind of just a little bit stingy with providing support, or like, hey, you know what, providing a good support experience is actually pretty expensive. And businesses don't want to invest in that because the support team doesn't actually generate direct revenue for the company. This is not Hospitable at all. Actually, at Hospitable, we really, really care a lot about providing a great support experience. And so to illustrate, I want to share some of our numbers from the last period of time. So I took here September 2024 just as an example. This was probably our best performing month over the last year. And so you'll see volume, we got around 5,000 interactions coming in from customers. Our customer satisfaction rate was about 92%. Our response times were around 38 minutes. So that's our first response time. And we had a total of 24 members on the team. Now, to give you an example from last month, so March of 2025, our volume is almost exactly the same as 5,100. Our satisfaction rate went way down, is now at 78%. Our response times, also unsurprisingly, they correlate a lot with customer satisfaction. We're at about 6 hours and 30 minutes. And the number of team members that we had in the team are actually 30. And so despite the fact that there was very, very, very marginal increase in volume and a huge increase in the team size that we actually have and the number of team members that we have, there was not the immediate impact that people would expect to see when it comes to things like response times. And the question is typically, why? Why is like what actually happens? The easy answer is, of course, hiring people is part of the solution, right? So yes, there is a certain amount of it where it's like the foundation is you need a support team. You can't really provide support if you don't have a support team. And so everything builds on that. But then there are a bunch of other layers that are actually like pretty key building blocks. The first one is obviously the processes that we work with. And that ranges from everything in terms of like how we route tickets to identify the right team that should get the right question at the right time. So we're able to respond to that very quickly. It also includes things like our AI tool and how well trained it is, how useful it is when it answers questions for people. It also includes, obviously, the training of the team. Sorry, I kind of missed that one. The training is kind of like really foundational. So you have the people, and then you need to train them that they actually really deeply understand the product and all of its nuances. Beyond that, we actually provide, like, we have a pretty unique style of support and way that we want to talk to our customers. We are extremely transparent in a lot of things, as you know. And so we need to train people to be able to provide that quality of support as well. We need to combine that with great processes. And then we also need to combine that with great tools. And so all of these things kind of build on each other. There's no point in having a well-trained team that still has really terrible processes. And there's also no point in having amazing tools, but then not a very knowledgeable team. So all of these things really connect. And so I'm pretty sure some of you at this point are thinking, okay, that sounds pretty reasonable. Of course, no one really thinks that you take a bunch of people and you throw them at the problem and then you go, all right, now we have solved it. Now we have really amazing support. The question is, why are these things in practice so hard? And the answer is actually multifold. There are a bunch of different layers to it. The first layer, I took this slide from our presentation at the beginning of the week, at the beginning of the year, sorry, where we talked about our product roadmap and some of the big plans that we have. You would actually be surprised at how many of these features are things that we've already started working on / have already released, considering that it's only April and this was technically our plan for the whole year. And so there is one part to it where we are an extremely ambitious company and we have an engineering team that actually operates like at a very, very insane velocity for a lot of people. So that part is that. And then the second part is that we also have a ton of really, really small updates that are happening kind of dispersed throughout all of these. And I just listed a couple from the last like 2 weeks here. Now, you look at each of these individually and you might think, okay, an availability window of 18 months, which Andrew just announced, is not a big feature release, like it doesn't really matter. And this is true. Each of these individually are kind of like really tiny features. But the thing is that all of them are interconnected with a bunch of other ones. And the support team doesn't just need to understand how these features work. We also need to be able to troubleshoot them because people only really reach out when they're not working as expected. We also need to be able to connect them to the particular particular challenge that our customers are facing. And so we should be able to always like take a consultative approach to show people how to get the most value out of our product. And that means with the big stuff and also the little stuff, we need to just develop a really, really deep level of expertise all the time. And to do that, while the business is moving so fast, while we're also hiring a lot of people, is actually quite challenging. So to give you just an illustration, an example of what this actually looks like in practice. So this is a really common question that we get, like my prices aren't updating. And so the answer of that in and of itself, in an individual situation, is kind of simple if you know all of the options and you know how to check for them. So an experienced and very knowledgeable customer support agent in this case would be able to find you the right solution, honestly, within a few minutes. But if they don't have that full picture and full understanding of all the different options and how they might impact you in that moment, then it's very challenging. And so for support, we need to be able to keep this in mind for this problem, but we also need to remember it for the hundreds of other problems that people reach out to us about every day. And then we also need to update this map pretty much every day as and when we make releases. And so what does that actually mean? It does mean that we really do want to provide a live chat support experience. This is a really big priority for us as a team and as a business. There are a couple of different avenues that we're taking to tackle this. It is not any one of these individual areas that we need to work on at once. We're actually trying to build a whole system around it all at the same time. So one part is, of course, the staffing side of things. We have always had a team that's based around the world, and so we've always been pretty good actually with our coverage. But now we're working towards closing every single gap, pretty much in a 24/7 period, so that we're able to provide consistent live chat all the time. And then the second one is the one that I just mentioned around developing all the systems around that really help us actually do that at a high level of quality and then keep up with just like update our knowledge and our mental models of how things are meant to work immediately. Now, the timeline also, like just to share, again, to highlight, we are investing really a lot in growing our support team. There is a certain element of attrition. So like the numbers here, it's not that we necessarily added all of these people in the team and they're still with us. There is always an element of attrition as well. But just to give you a picture, so in January, we had hired and onboarded 6 people in total. And it took us about 2 months to get to train up that cohort to the point that they were able to contribute and like interact regularly with our customers. The second batch that we onboarded was 7 people, which started in March. And that one, we actually managed to reduce our ramp time to something like 3 to 5 weeks, depending on the person, which was a huge success for us. Like we were really, really happy about this because obviously you can imagine one of the things for us to be able to move with a really high velocity as well means that we need to be able to onboard people quickly as well. We are very excited to have a US team lead starting very soon. Our US shift is obviously our most important shift. And this is where a ton of the adjustments like operational management on a daily basis need to happen. So we're really excited about that. And then we will also have one more cohort that will be starting hopefully pretty soon, all hopefully in the direction that we will be able to offer a 24/7 live chat experience relatively soon. Now, I don't want to commit to a particular timeline, but fingers crossed, we'll keep you updated. We will be giving you probably like quarterly updates about our progress and how we're getting. And so you'll have a good idea of when that's happening and what that looks like. And before I wrap up, just to leave you with a different picture, for anyone who thinks, okay, if we're talking about this, then that means that actually the support experience is not great. Our team is actually extremely dedicated to providing great experience across the board. For anyone who does reach out, we really try, we do our best to go above and beyond. Obviously, we're not perfect. Obviously, there's a lot that we can do better, but a lot of the people who interact with us are always really happy with that experience as well. So in the meanwhile, feel free to reach out to us. You might need to be a little bit patient some of the time, but most of the time, you will also have a great experience. Thanks a lot. I'll hand off to Abby for direct.
Thank you. Okay, so first for direct, starting off with an update on tax remittance for direct premium. We are making it a priority this year with the help of Brandon, our accountant in residence, to expand the states and jurisdictions where we are collecting and remitting taxes for our direct premium users. So as of April 1st, the beginning of this month, we are now remitting taxes in Vermont and Hawaii. In Vermont and Hawaii, we are collecting and remitting all sales tax and state lodging tax. So if you have a property in either of those states, your local lodging taxes will continue to be passed through to you, but the sales tax and state lodging taxes will be remitted on your behalf. We are working on a plan to add remittance in our top local jurisdictions. So we'll share more on that as we get there. Also, on our coming soon list, the states that we are looking at next are, oh, you can go back. The states we're looking to add next are Florida. Florida was newly added to our coming soon list, which we are excited about because Florida is definitely the state where we have the highest majority of direct premium users in the US. So we're looking forward to adding remittance there. We'll also be looking at New York, New Jersey, Alabama, and Utah. We don't have exact dates to share on each of those states yet, but we likely will on town hall, in our next town hall. Our goal here is really to add tax remittance in all 50 states. So we'll be continuing to share updates probably in every town hall. This map is going to get a lot pinker, at least that's our goal. And so as soon as we have a date or tentative timeline for your state, you'll be hearing from us in an update. And then next, an update on domains. So we've heard countless times that connecting your custom domain to your direct site can be a bit of a headache. You have to go manually update your DNS records with your DNS provider. So that's wherever you purchase your domain, whether it be from GoDaddy or Namecheap. And having your site under a custom domain is important. It really helps your guests recognize your brand. So we wanted to make this process a lot easier for you. And we're doing that by giving you a new way to connect your custom domain and actually manage your domains within Hospitable. So this is coming soon. Our engineering team was working very hard to try to get this live before this town hall, but it'll likely be live and rolling out over the next couple of days. But once it is live, you will now have the option when you go to connect a custom domain to your direct site to choose to let Hospitable manage your DNS for you, which we recommend, especially if you purchase that domain specifically to use it for your direct site, or you can continue to use your existing DNS provider. If you do let Hospitable manage your DNS for you, all you'll need to do is update your name servers with your domain provider to point to our name servers instead. And from there, we will automatically add all of the necessary DNS records to link your custom domain to your direct site. And if you're like, I don't know what a name server is, I have no idea how to do that, don't worry, we will walk you through that and give you the process and documentation to go update your name servers. It's going to be a lot easier than having to manually update your DNS records. And once you've connected your custom domain and you've updated your name servers, you'll actually be able to add, edit, or remove DNS records from Hospitable. From there, we are going to make it even easier by actually allowing you to buy and register a new domain from Hospitable. So you don't need to go to an external domain provider at all in that case. And then we will be adding additional functionality for custom domains outside of just direct sites, including the ability to send emails from your custom domain. So more to come there. And then another update on improving guest verification. So I've talked about this in the past couple of town halls. This is taking us longer than we originally anticipated. And that's really because this is a very important feature and we need to have high confidence that it is working before we roll it out. So if you've missed the past couple of town halls, as a recap for you, we are rebuilding our guest verification feature. And that's because we've transparently heard a lot of feedback that this needs to be better. We've heard that it can be difficult or not intuitive for guests to complete guest verification. Oftentimes, our support team needs to manually review a guest because there was an issue with their ID image or an issue reading the barcode. And so we are taking the time to rebuild guest verification, and we're partnering with a new ID verification provider to provide a smoother experience for your guests. And we're also making some changes so that we're only requiring review from our support team in the cases where there's a high level of risk or high probability of fraud. Everything else will go directly to you to review and make the decision whether you want to accept that guest and that reservation. We're putting the final touches on this now, completing testing this week. Our goal is to begin rolling this out to a small percentage of reservations next week. And this will be a continued focus for us this quarter as we add new features and continue to improve the experience for you and for your guests. And that, I'm actually going to hand it over to Tim to give an exciting announcement on security deposits.
Hey everyone, thank you, Abby. Yes, so really exciting, really excited to be introducing you to new security deposit feature this week. We've been working hard behind the scenes on this. It's going to be fully automated on all things deposit collection, management, guest communication. It comes with chargeback protection, so you're not involved in payment disputes. We're going to be starting a private pilot for direct premium users for this over the next couple of weeks. I'll show you how to sign up for that at the end. But first, I'd like to run you through just a quick demo on how this works, what it looks like, what it costs, So, as I said, fully automated. Here is the one thing that you'd need to do here. Input your deposit amount per property. We will then take care of everything else. So we'll automatically collect and release the deposit 2 days before and 2 days after checkouts. And then on the next slide, so the guest will receive really clear communication that there is a deposit necessary for the reservation. So there's no surprises for them. There's no awkward conversations for you later on. They'll be informed of the deposit amount, the collection dates at booking. They'll be reminded of that in the guest portal. And we'll also send out an email to them reminding them 1 day before that it's due to be collected. And then you'll be able to see all of this in the inbox. So you can see the deposit amount, the collection and release dates. You can see the status of the deposit. So if it's been scheduled, if the deposit is secured, if it's been released yet. And we're also going to restrict those check-in messages until the deposit has been secured, just to make sure that no one without a deposit in place is actually able to access the property. You can then charge that deposit at any point you see fit, get access to those funds straight away. There'll be a button on the inbox to charge that deposit. You'll fill out a very brief form on how much you're charging and why. And then we will use that form then to generate a message using AI that you can then send to the guest to inform them of that deduction to the deposit. We'll auto prepare it for you. You would just need to hit send. Now, we put a lot of thought and work into how we wanted to position ourselves versus other tools here, how we wanted to combat some of the traditional downsides that come with security deposits, as well as how we wanted to price this. So here's a little bit of a comparison on why we're really excited about this feature, why we think it's great, and then hopefully why you will as well. So first, as I've said, this is fully integrated and automated. Input this deposit amount and that's it. Everything happens on Hospitable. A lot of other providers or third-party tools, there's a lot of manual steps that take place off-platform, a separate configuration or setup for every reservation, so on and so forth. Part of that automation, like I said, is the guest communication. Like I said, we'll automate all of that in the booking flow, the reminder emails. We found that a lot of other providers here require manual communication, or the messaging is quite generic. Also, if there is a deduction from the deposit needed, that communication often doesn't come from you. It comes from the other tool, which can potentially lead to kind of awkward communication or confuse the guest a little bit. And that's something that we wanted to avoid by making that message coming from you, but we would prepare it. Next, so we plan to roll this out to OTA bookings as well. We're starting with direct premium, but it won't be exclusive to that. We'll also roll out to the OTAs. When we do that, we'll be including ID verification and ID screening with every security deposit reservation also. For a lot of other providers, either they don't have that ID screening, or if they do, it's a separate product, an additional cost, or an additional process or flow that the guest or you need to go through. Next, as I mentioned, we'll restrict those check-in instructions until it's secured. We will include chargeback protection on all deposits, so you don't need to be involved in those payment disputes. We found here some providers do this, some don't. It's a bit of a mixed bag. And then penultimately, we will also ensure that every booking is covered from check-in to check-out. This one kind of surprised us in our research, but we found quite a few other tools who either take those deposits after check-in or would basically end and extend holds, which often results in that deposit appearing on the guest's bank account twice, or potentially just being unable to extend that hold, and then the guest is in the property without that deposit secured. We didn't want to do that. We want to make sure the experience is good for everyone and ensure that all reservations were covered in their entirety. And then finally, pricing. So this will cost 2% of the deposit amount. We want you to be able to set your own pricing here. make it in line with what the deposit is, so you pay what you're comfortable with there. This is on the lower side for sure for comparable tools. We typically found the cost ranging from 2 to 3.4% plus a processing fee or an additional subscription. And then finally, if this sounds on the next slide, if this sounds like something you want to be a part of, here's the QR code to sign up for that private pilot. Like I said, it's direct premium users only to start, and we'll be reaching out over the next week or so to onboard some of you. And of course, there's no 2% fee whilst we are in pilot. It will be free. So yeah, sign up and we'll be in touch. And that's everything from me. I think it's over to Emily with operations now.
Yep. Thank you, Tim. Hey, everybody. All right. Today, we're introducing something a little bit new, a totally new concept for Hospitable that lives under operations called My Business. We have learned a lot speaking with our customers, specifically those of you who are on the Mogul plan. It's clear that there's not really a one-size-fits-all approach to running your business, but there are like very common, consistent needs that surface depending on the type of business or businesses that you're running. So we've introduced businesses in Hospitable in order to customize your experience using Hospitable with your exact business in mind. So today we're going to be supporting two common business models, owner and manager. What you'll do is if you're on Mogul, you'll go into operations, select My Business and add a new business. You'll give it a name, you'll define the business model, and you'll add the properties that fit with that model. So are these properties that you own and self-manage, or are these properties that you manage on behalf of other people? If you do both, you can create a separate business for each of those to account for that. You can have as many businesses as you need. Once your business is created, you will experience the features designed with your actual business model in mind. So with this, Mogul is now more properly supports people who own and self-manage their properties. We spoke with so many of you who upgraded to Mogul even without having owners to deliver statements to. You just wanted owner statements because you saw some potential in the calculations. You got creative. You added yourself as an owner. You created a 0% management commission to get the resulting owner statement in a spot that kind of mimicked up what amounts to a profit and loss. And it kind of worked, but you shouldn't have to hack your way through things like that. We can build a tool just for you that meets your exact business needs. So with that, I will pass things off to Brandon, our accountant in residence, to share a little bit more about what we're doing for owners who manage their own properties.
Awesome. Thanks, Emily. So over to the next slide. So like she mentioned, over the past few months with Mogul, we've seen that a lot of our users, it encompasses more of a variety. It's not just property managers, but it's also the property owners. And so like she mentioned that we've seen a lot of owners hack what our owner statements are used for and to create almost a P&L for themselves in a profit and loss statement. So with that, we're really, really excited to launch our own accounting for our owners within Mogul. So ultimately, our accounting recommendations were developed to help make accounting really as easy as possible for you. This isn't necessarily your day-to-day job, knowing every single in and out about accounting and knowing what tax compliance is. So we've developed the recommended income and expense categories that are available for owners to better understand what might be taxable income to them, as well as what expenses they can deduct for a tax benefit and for tax purposes. So while the U.S. just finalized, our tax season for 2024 yesterday, the new accounting recommendations really put you in a great spot to start off the new year for 2025 and make tax season next year a breeze. So as Emily mentioned, once you set up a business, you'll be able to track your income and expenses for your self-managed and owned properties directly in Hospitable. So within enhanced income items, your reservations are actually automatically synced in, and you'll be able to see your income clearly labeled into different categories, such as accommodations dependent on the platform, whether it's Airbnb, Vrbo, Direct, Booking.com, as well as it will also break out areas such as cleaning fees, if you have extra guest fees, your pass-through taxes. So it helps create a clear line item for each area so you can see specifically what each income is tied to. As well as what we've also implemented are new enhanced transaction lists to encompass a broad variety of expenses that maybe you didn't know existed or you could deduct. So that includes areas from maintenance, repairs, specific supply accounts if you have cleaning supplies or house supplies, specific utilities, water, electric, sewer, and various more and more and more that you can think of consider to subscriptions or advertising, marketing. So it just really helps provide a lot of categories and recommendations for you as well. We've also added that you're able to filter and start looking at your ranges back from the beginning of the year, starting from January 1, 2025. And then you can also filter down. So if you do have multiple businesses that you self manage for or own, you're able to break that down into a different business as well as per property as well. So you're able to see holistic what the business is, as well as what the property income and expense were specifically to that. So more to come with this, and it's going to continue to evolve, but we're very, very excited to announce this and release that. So I think I'll pass it back to Emily.
Yep. Thank you, Brandon. Yeah, it's so great to have so much velocity on the accounting side now and have so much confidence going into these new releases with Brandon, our accountant in residence, on the team. So there was a question in the chat saying, well, what if I own my own properties and manage my properties? Good news. You can do that too. And we have found it's honestly shockingly common how many of you, our customers, do both. I don't think it's common like overall, but for our customers, it is, because what we've found is that you might own a property first, manage it yourself, automate some things. Hospitable helps you do that. It helps you streamline that so that you're not spending as much time. And then you're like, you know what? I could actually manage a property for somebody else, and it wouldn't be that much more effort in my day to day. I can maintain my, day job in the process. So Mogul is still designed for managers. If you set up a business and give it the manager business model and associate properties with that, that is then going to unlock the features specific to you as someone managing properties for other owners. So we already have accounting with QuickBooks for people with that business model. Brandon has designed new accounting recommendations that we're going to be implementing in the coming days and weeks. And we will also kind of bring the accounting for managers in alignment with that of owners, so that, like, depending if you're a manager or an owner, you'll be able to see a profit and loss in Hospitable, but specific to those recommendations. If you connect QuickBooks or not, you can use our native accounting, or you can connect QuickBooks. We'll pull that profit and loss in. So we're going to be working on kind of beefing up what we've done for managers so far, if that fits with your business model. Also, if your business model is that of a manager, it will unlock the owner management features for you. So many of you are already using owner statements. This was really the first big feature that came with Mogul. Now it is just one of many. Owner statements really was just the beginning. And that's, as many of us have said, it's table stakes. Of course, you have to have owner statements. Where we're going with this is super exciting. We're getting started on our owners portal. I've had many calls with many of you. I can see you guys in the chat. So hello. Y'all provided some awesome feedback where you'd like to see this owner portal go. There's still time to influence what we decide to build here. So scan that QR code, upvote it, add your comments. We are having some very colorful chats in there about what you guys would like to see, and we're keeping an eye on your requests there. But the idea is for your business model and the businesses you create in Hospitable and those business models to really customize your experience with Hospitable moving forward. And this is not just going to be specifically for Mogul features, which is most of what we talked about today. But in time, it can do other things, like maybe you can have a custom domain associated with your business, which works for all the properties associated with that business. And so there's really a lot of room we have to grow here. All right, with that, I'll pass it to Miles for some updates on integration.
Cool. Thank you very much, Emily. Yep. So just a couple of quick updates from me. So we have a couple of new partners that we added to our app marketplace in the past week. So firstly, we have CrewDogs. So CrewDogs is a business focused on bookings from US military veterans and the US military community. So if you list your property on there, you are gaining access to an exclusive community of over 25 million veterans, service members, and family of those members, with a seamless integration. So if you're interested in attracting veterans and giving back to the US military, you can go and check out CrewDogs for more information, and go ahead and scan that QR code to see how the integration works. And then finally, one more from me. Rubaroo is a new guestbook alternative option for you to check out too. So if you're looking for a digital guestbook alternative, you can go and check out Rubaroo. They also do guest SMS as part of kind of the guest journey, guest surveys, and the ability to upsell add-ons and extended stays. So go ahead, scan that QR code, and you can learn a bit more about that integration as well. Okay, and we're now going to get PC back on stage for another segment. PC, handing over to you.
Yes, if I get the chance, I think my computer is lagging a little bit. But yeah, fantastic. We've already talked about Airbnb, and especially the timing is really fantastic today to talk about Airbnb because we just became today a Preferred Plus software partner. And you know it's good when there's a disclaimer before the CEO of Hospitable starts talking. So you know it's going to be fantastic. But I wanted to talk obviously about something that came up in the chat several times by now, especially on the day where we're announcing security deposit, which is the off-platform and fee transparency policy that we've all received a notification for in our emails over the past week, and we obviously dissected it with quite a lot of attention. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the two. First of all, I just want to say off-platform and fee transparency policy means that basically there is probably something that went a little bit faster than anticipated. I can tell you that from a lawyer's perspective, you are dealing with two very different objects. Off-platform, one thing, and fee transparency, another thing. And they are very different in their motivation and purpose, of course. So mixing that all together makes me feel like it basically is done something that was done a little bit faster than anticipated. Now, the first thing where I believe Airbnb needed to progress was really about fee transparency, and that really is the first item on the agenda for that particular policy, which is that all mandatory fees needs to be included in a field or in the nightly price. Everything that guests must pay, for example, nights booked, guest count, everything that varies based on those kind of components needs to be set as a specific field. If it doesn't have a field, then you are able, obviously, to include that in nightly price. But that's actually pretty complicated to do if you're doing that. So I want to just basically zoom out and what was really the problem that maybe is happening in the industry, but particularly on Airbnb, depending on memes. And so you have a few screenshots here from complaints on social media that basically show a bit of the problem that Airbnb their product team talked to us about really the problem they were facing when we were sharing feedback with them, which is now something we're going to be able to do more of as we are a Preferred Plus partner. And so we are really going to be using that onwards. But here you see, for example, the case of that Airbnb price details view with 3 nights at 136, ending up basically costing a total price of 837 with a massive cleaning fee of 248. At the time, there would have been no way for transparency of the entire fee structure up until the moment where you added your payment method. Obviously, you realize that this is not exactly the best experience for the guest. It interferes with everything you have. And that's why, obviously, on Twitter back in the day, or X now, on Facebook, you have so many guests complaining about you start with $100 and you end up with 10,000 with all the fees being added. And it's not at all Airbnb related, Airbnb focused. You can see on the right another OTA with all the breakdown and listing items. I love the transparency, but the problem is this is really unpalatable. You feel nickel and dimed, and there is basically no way to justify that a one-night stay whose nightly rate is 151 ends up costing 5 times that amount when you add all the different fees. The problem is basically not that of cost, but that of transparency. And Airbnb actually, like many other booking platforms in the industry, are quite a bit late in reacting to this meme, or basically the needs of the customer to making sure that the fair price is being displayed in search results and basically being used. And that's basically coming out initiative out of the FTC, which I'm sure you're following daily, and basically had multiple initiatives in the past few years, really, about banning junk fees, which basically means no hidden fees. Everything needs to be transparently detailed, and if there is a fee that is required later, you see this required thing. If there's a fee that is required for the reservation, that it needs to be disclosed at the checkout page, not come up a little bit later. And nothing bogus as well, which means you need to know what the fees are for, and basically what is the relationship between that fee and the delivery of the service as a reservation for example. Now, one of the things that was always a problem with fee transparency is the fact that in the US, and in the US, quite frankly, alone, the search results did not return all-in pricing. So all nightly price plus all fees plus service fees, excluding taxes if you're in the US, including taxes if you are in the EU or in Australia as well, in terms of key markets that are in the top 7 markets that Airbnb is bringing 80% of its revenue from. So there was a change, obviously, that you're familiar with search results, which now are going to be displaying all-in pricing in the United States. That prevents 2 things, really. The gameability of the fees, which is that you can lower artificially the nightly price while moving it over to a cleaning fee. And then obviously you now are going to be liable to add every fee, nothing hidden. And that's basically is alignment with whatever, with what's being shared in the fee transparency policy from Airbnb. They actually are under an obligation, not material now, but that will be the case within a few months when the rules from the FTC are becoming fully enforceable. And so the idea is, if there is a field you are allowed to have this fee, you can add it to a field, and it will be Airbnb's job here, for example, to make sure that the search results are returning all fees combined, so that basically your listing is going to be assessed fairly against another listing that doesn't have that fee or basically has a different fee structure. And if there is no field, you need to add it to the nightly price. And I think that's obviously where there is a lot of tension, because it will end up, I think, really with greater fees on the guest in the end, because the hosts are going to need to calculate obviously a fee that's going to be conservative to make sure that they are going to be able to meet the expenses, rather than basically having a specific fee that, if there was something, a flat fee per reservation, for example, as a cost incurred on the business, is basically not something that you are going to be able to do anymore. So that means if you have an expense of $50 per reservation, you're going to want to push it onto the nightly price, and that's probably going to be looking at the average reservation stay that you have, and that's going to ultimately result in higher fees, higher cost for the guests that are booking for you with that baked in the nightly price. So that's just one thing. I think generally the direction is great because it's better for conversion. You're going to be able to have the accurate price being displayed to guests in the search results. And there's actually pretty much a standard rule now across the planet for all prices are going to be displayed, with just the minor caveat of the taxes, which is very specific to our rates are being displayed in the United States. And last thing that I want to add on fee transparency, that means now objections that were existing about host-only fee or split fee for Airbnb are kind of getting unwarranted, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter to the guest pricing, to their pricing discovery. They are able to go on one or the other without any gameability factor at the end of the host alone. So it basically sets a level playing field for hosts, and I think that's better for the industry overall and its perception. Now, the other part is the off-platform policy, which really used to be a platform policy on its own. And you can see here some screenshot from Sean from Airbnb Automated. I really would encourage you to look on YouTube for his videos, because I think they are really quite on point in covering the risk and the fears that are associated with this off-platform policy. Oh, they are a little bit silly and ridiculous, and may have some dramatic downside for the guest experience, for the host experience, and ultimately for the lifetime value of a host on Airbnb, because it's not exactly common to hear people leaving Airbnb because they want to go with Vrbo or Booking, but there is a marketplace of marketplaces, and there has to be competition on the merits and how great it is to be having an experience for the host and for the guest. And those kind of tools or anything that basically comes up off platform is not necessarily against Airbnb. It can be for the benefit of the host, for the benefit of its community, for the benefit of the guest, and everybody that's involved in the economic impact of short-term rentals as a whole. So I think this is where the part where I believe there is going to be a bit of a dramatization on the direction that's happening, and it probably will not materialize. And we're going to be definitely leveraging our relationship to have clear certainty on basically what's happening. Now, to zoom out a little bit, I do believe that Airbnb has an interest, and everybody as a business owner can understand there is a balance that needs to be struck between preserving a marketplace and improving the user experience, if that's basically a benefit. And I think Airbnb is right directionally about making sure that a guest that has booked on Airbnb doesn't cancel a booking on Airbnb and then later moves to a direct booking instead. That's not fair. Airbnb has generated that income for you. And I think they're right at setting a boundary in that direction. And yes, we have a direct booking business, absolutely, but I can appreciate what's fair and sustainable overall. And anything more aggressive is probably going to have other pushback at the next stage. But at the same time, you have links, for example, TouchStay, that basically are enriching the experience, and it's really hard to punish a host for wanting to provide a better experience. But then there is a risk that maybe they're going to book elsewhere out of Airbnb if there is an iteration and expansion, all those kind of things. So the next slide is telling you what is actually banned. And this is not the best slide I've ever designed. There is really an accumulation of things that I believe fundamentally are about your initiative, like your initiative and what the guest can respond to. If you are going to be encouraging to move reservations, so etc., so an action that really would be anti-competitive against Airbnb because they actually don't do that guest, then that's definitely going to be a higher risk. This is not okay, has never been, and I think that's basically something that is totally legitimate for. But then you have things like, for example, not asking guests to provide feedback outside of Airbnb, and you want to have as much feedback as possible. You want to have it on a timely basis. Does it mean that you cannot have feedback on Google or basically something specific before, even after, the review has been posted? I think there are things that may not go well, that are worthy of improvement, that are not going to be shared. You cannot share links, but then, that's TouchStay as a link. It's basically about enriching the experience. So it's kind of where I feel it's a bit ridiculous. One thing that is really well aligned, though, on those elements of platform is that communication should not be off platform. We really built Hospitable literally from the beginning. We could have gone in a different direction, like taking a mobile app or having email chat instead. The entire premise of Hospitable is that we want the communication in the platform, because that's about what it means to think for the guests. They are not going to check on 15 different chat applications or another email, etc. They booked you on Airbnb. The communication should still be on Airbnb. And that's probably what you valued really early days when going with Hospitable instead, not going with different emails and a complex process. And the second thing that I want to add is obviously the alternative, which is requiring guests to use other websites or apps is not the best guest experience. There's an option. That's great. It's about enriching the experience. I think that's a net win for everybody. But if you're forcing, like Sean was saying in one of the videos, Sonder to have to download a mobile app so that you get access to the smart lock code, so that then you can enter the property, it's not a bad taste. It's in bad taste. It actually is bad for everyone's business, because that means you're going to have obviously the inevitable customer that cannot check in at all, and that's basically increasing cost and basically being more annoying and really result in cancellations on high-value transactions. So I feel pretty vindicated on that particular part, but that's obviously on me. Now, the thing is that it's very clear what's forbidden. It is but you're still kind of looking for what is allowed still. And so we're announcing today that we're starting the private pilot for security deposit. It could not be more timely. Security deposit are completely allowed through software connected hosts. That means that's why you're having this field on Hospitable's application as part of detail tied to an Airbnb logo, and that's what Tim has shared. You are allowed as a software connected host to input the security deposit as a field. And now we've learned that basically something that's it's either a field or it's in the nightly price. Now, one thing you cannot do as a nightly price is a security deposit, because then you can need to refund it. But security deposits are allowed through software. And so that's why we are baking our own solution to help you do great security deposit with a very fast payout and making sure that there is full alignment still between the guest and the host on this part, while benefiting all of our, with the extra benefit of everything we've built on our financial infrastructure. they're still allowed to require contact details for legal or compliance reasons. So if your HOA is requesting you to have some kind of rental agreement, it seems that that's still okay to have contact details. What I believe is something that is not written because it's all about the guest exchanging information. What about you? You are providing your own details to your guest as they are booking, so that you say you can reach out to me by that email, you can reach out to me by that phone number, and then it's up to you if you're actually reaching out. But there is no disclosure or dissemination of private information. Another thing is the guest can still require for their own convenience an alternate means of communication. So if they want to connect with you on SMS, WhatsApp, whatever messaging app that is existing, they have a right to request and you have a right to deny, but you probably will want to do so so that you have the chat integration. So there is still a realm of things that are in the window of availability. What seems to be the case is that it still needs to be at the request of the guest. If the guest is asking for it, I think there is room to be covered, because all of a sudden it's about retaining the reservation with a specific guest, not generating income outside of the platform. Now, we know that things is allowed. I did touch on the next slide on something that may be allowed, which is sharing your own contact details if you're comfortable with that. There is still a few things that are really unclear. The idea is that you cannot require contact detail information to be shared on parts that are on applications that are required to enjoy the stay. And I'm really expanding on enjoy the stay. It's really gaining access to the property that is being discussed. But what does it mean sharing links like touch stay? I think the situation is not clear enough. What we have on the policy is links that cannot be shared when it's tied to moving a reservation off the platform of Airbnb. And there is no way touch stay is going to help you do that. You are maybe communicating a direct booking website. But then again, that's really far-fetched. I mean, really, the guests need to know how the dishwasher is working, not really going to be interested in direct booking anyway. Anything that is disclosed upfront with a clear purpose, that is optional, i.e. not required, is really like a lot of steps to basically pass a certain test. If this is okay, I don't think it's workable for several millions of hosts across the world that are using Airbnb. And one of the questions that I'm really asking is basically considering Wi-Fi is probably at the lowest level of physiological needs for me anyway. Whenever you have an application like StayFi, is it optional? Does it mean that it's optional because it's actually not related with a reservation, it's related to an amenity, or is it still required? Because of course, Wi-Fi is a required thing. I just don't really know the answer to those questions. I share in the same way as many other hosts the bit of tension, like there's a lack of clarity on what we can do. It says it's banned. It's actually very hard to believe that it would be completely banned, because it actually has no impact whatsoever on the income or the intentions behind this. Okay, I really went overboard for this. I think Miles, you can go back and talk about the next town hall.
Correct. Yeah. So just one final update from us, because we appreciate we are out of time. So our next town hall is actually our 100th town hall. This is town hall 99. So yeah, 100 town halls, which is pretty amazing. So many updates packed into all those town halls as evidence today, and just kind of a testament to how transparent we are with kind of the updates we're working on and listening to your feedback. But for our next town hall in 2 weeks' time, like I said, it's the 100th episode. So we really will be kind of revealing a few big things there, some exciting updates. So if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure that you tune in for the next one in 2 weeks' time. Scan the QR code. That's April 30th at the same time as today. And then I think that's it from us. I'm just going to bring up our important link slide. If you do have any questions off the back of today's session, we have a bunch of places where you can go submit your feedback, check out recent updates, and also obviously get in touch with our support team as needed. PC, you've already spoken a lot. Any final words to cap off today's session there?
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. I'm really sorry. This is I really wanted to have an exchange on the off platform and fee policy, and it seems like, unfortunately, as Nuran shared, there is a lot of product updates that are happening. I really wanted also to have this segment from Nuran to share and basically be accountable to the progress of our support, because it's bound to be improving, and their team is really hard at work on that. So Nuran will get back on the town halls as needed, at least on a quarterly basis, to share updates on a response or response time, which we believe are really the biggest factor that's taken into account to assess the quality, even though those two things are really unrelated. And I think there were some comments on the chat that really are there. It doesn't matter. It doesn't make sense to have a great quality answer if it's happening 2 days after the guest has canceled, for example, which would not like to have happened. So yeah, plenty of updates, in particular with Mogul. I want to touch on that. That is now a plan that's working more intentionally for owners and for managers with basically this My Business function, which means you are able to differentiate between different income streams as a business, whether you are owner or manager, arbitraging, or everything that is in between. Next panel, do we have something planned? It's a 100th town hall on top of everything. You counted, Miles. So are we coming disguised as some kind of animal, or like pirates? Like, should we do something a bit festive?
Thank goodness. Well, that wasn't the plan, but now I have to start
That
thinking
was-
of what we're going to what we're going to wear and ship everyone an outfit.
I think the town hall, this town hall in particular, will be remembered. We have something really special to announce. Basically, we've been sharing time and time again in ads. It's going to be, really watch this one, pay attention to this one, because it's going to be bringing a dramatic change to Hospitable's value and features. So yeah, it's a huge, huge, huge update, and we're going to keep it quiet, which is really against everything that we're trying to do. But yeah, I'm really excited about 2 weeks from now. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. See you in 2 weeks.